Going live. There we are. Hello.
Hello, everyone.
So I just want to introduce you to another amazing cozy mystery influencer. I will let her tell you all about herself and where you can find her and all of those things, and then I'll ask her and pepper her, and we'll grill her about some of her cozy mystery likes. And no, I'm just kidding. So I will turn it over to you.
All right. Well, hello. My name is Fariba. I run a cozy mystery blog, cozymysteryreads.wordpress.com. I used to have a .com, and then I was like, I don't keep up with it as much, and so I'm not going to pay $100 whatever every year. Right. So I'm back to .wordpress.com, and I really like it. And I primarily read cozy mysteries, although I read very widely. I read historical fiction, I read a lot of middle grade fantasy, and I also read literary fiction both in English and French. But on that blog, I really focus on what is cozy, what I think that not just cozy mystery readers, but just cozy readers in general would enjoy. So that is what I do here.
Yay! And tell everybody, because I think this is very cute. If you haven't been to her blog, tell everybody how you rate your books and where it came from, because it's adorable.
Okay, so I always rate my books with moose heads because moose are my favorite animals, and as a result, I just rate them with moose heads. And it's the same thing. It's basically like 5 moose heads means it's fabulous. And I don't really ever talk about books that I give less than 3 moose heads to, because I want my blog to just recommend books that I have enjoyed. The exception is if it's a series that I will continue, but it's like there was a dud in the series, and so maybe I'll give 2 moose heads. But yeah, sometimes it's a half moose head.
Yeah.
It's like 1 antler.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, no, I love that because, I want to talk about the books I love, because that's what I'm here to do, is recommend books and talk about books I love. So I just want things to be, for me, I want things to focus on the positive. So I love that. And I'm like you, I might say like, hey, I don't think I'm going to continue on in this series because it doesn't work for me. And I always try to word it that way, because we all know that everybody likes different things, but there really is an audience for everything, so it's just not me,
Right.
And then there's things that I love that, other people are like, whoa. So I love that you focus really on those books that you enjoyed. And I really try to do that too, because I feel like I'm here to, it's not that I'm not reviewing books that way. I just kind of move past them because I want to talk about the books I love and support and, shout out the ones that I enjoy. Hey, gamer.
Hello.
Oh, there's Cajun. Hi, Cajun. She says, watching while heating up lunch. Soup. Excellent.
Ooh, I like soup. Soup is perfect for the time of the year.
Soup is like one of my favorite meals. Well, first of all, there's so many different kinds, but even living in Florida, because, in Illinois, I did all the time, but it didn't stop me living in Florida. I still make a lot of soup. I love it.
Yep.
I love it. Hey, Dream. I know this is housekeeping, but I just sent your book today. So I need to check that off the list. I'll still try to email you, but I just wanted you to know. Hey, Ro. It's good to see you. Ro has new channel, the TBR Tackle. It is fabulous. We're so glad that you're with us. So, Fariba, what are a few of your favorite cozy mystery series? Because that's why we're all here, and I love talking about cozies.
So let me start talking about my auto read series. Let's start with children's. So the Myrtle Hardcastle mystery series by Elizabeth Bunce is fabulous. I have caught up. I am super excited to read the book that's either come out already or will be coming out. I think it's this month when it's coming out.
What is this series again? I don't think I've heard of
this.
The
Myrtle Hardcastle mystery series by Elizabeth C. Bunce. It features a girl in the beginning of the 20th century, so like 1900, early 1900s. She wants to be like her father, who is a solicitor. But she's a girl, and so I think it's the early 1900s. She's supposed to be dressed, she's supposed to wear dresses, but she's more of a tomboy, and she loves investigating. And of course, there's a murder in every book, and it is just fabulous. Like, it is so well written, so engaging, and I'm super excited about the more recent release. Another middle grade that I really love is the Fun Jungle series by Stuart Gibbs. The reason why I love it is because it's set in a zoo, and any mystery that involves exotic animals is up my alley. There's a few little things I don't like about the series. I will say there is quite a bit of fat phobia in some of the more earlier books, but I'm hoping the more recent releases are less fat phobic. But other than that, I think that Teddy is a fantastic protagonist. He's 12, so he's the age of the children that I teach. And Stuart Gibbs clearly understands that age group really well. So love that series. For adult mysteries, I am currently reading the third book in the Mrs. Claus series, which is an auto read for me. It's basically the Santa Claus movies, but with a mystery. So super cozy, wonderful, fantastical. Anything by Amanda Flower. I have started several series by her, but a series that people have not heard of is her Historical Museum mystery series. And I particularly recommend Final Tap, which is book 2. Just start with that book. It doesn't matter which book you start with, but it is set in a historical museum in the winter. They're tapping maple trees for maple syrup.
I love that.
So, and it's just wonderful. And it was very clear to me when I was reading it that Amanda Flower was influenced by Hale Farm and Village, which is an historical museum in the Cleveland area. And since she's from Ohio and I'm from Ohio, so I felt like that was a really nice touch. I have loved Eileen Watkins' Cat Groomer series. It's lesser known, but I've read several books in that series. It's one of the first cozy mystery series I got into.
Wow. I'm so glad we're chatting because all of those are series I haven't read. It's hard to, you know what I mean? Like, in the Santa Claus one, that's the Liz Ireland. Is that
yes? It's Liz Ireland. It's so good.
I have it on my TBR because Art from the Book Odyssey. I think his channel's name is the Book Odyssey. He's also in our Discord. He's a really nice guy. He loves that series, so I had put it on my TBR. So I'm hoping to get.
You would like it, Tiffany, just because it is pretty outlandish in its premise. It works, but it's like talking reindeer and like everything is super cozy and there's Santa Claus and elves, and so it is kind of. I think you like that kind of thing. That's a little bit too much sometimes, but it works.
Yeah. And then what was I going to say? The Mystery Museum, the Amanda Flowers Museum series. That's probably the only series I haven't tried by her. I think there's that one other. I think I read one of the I think it's Apple Creek or something like that. And it's just because it's, I think, her very first series, and it's hard to find. You know, that's the only reason. And then the other one, the museum, and that's also, I feel like that's one of the reasons I haven't read that either. Because
I have another one I forgot to mention. The Family Skeleton series by
Lee Perry.
So good.
Yeah.
I was requesting a third book from the library, and it's out of print. So, yeah, unfortunately. But it's a talking skeleton. Also, have you read that series?
I've read the first one for Sid. Yeah, I read the first one, and then because she was going to be at Malice last year, and so it's like, oh, I want to get it read, and she was really awesome. So, but yeah. So, what would you say your favorite themes are in cozies that you like to read?
Sure. So anything having to do with, and there aren't very many, but I'm thinking anything having to do with nature, so national parks, also anything with exotic animals. Nothing against domestic animals, but domesticated animals, but I do like my exotic animals in cozies, zoos, wildlife reserves, things like that. There are very few out there. But I also like, so I wish for more. That is, if there's one thing I wish for more conservation-based cozies. I know that Betty Webb has her Gunzu mystery series, and I read a few books, hit and miss, but The Anteater of Death was the first cozy I ever read. So I will always thank Betty Webb for writing that book. Other things that I really love, I mean, I do like my diner, restaurant, mysteries. I will say I prefer cooking to baking. So culinary over baking. I mean, very similar, but cooking is something I do, whereas baking is not really something I do, even though I watch like the baking show.
Yeah.
So there's that, and then craft. I forgot to mention Monica. Oh, what is her series?
The Needlepoint or whatever. Ferris.
The Needlepoint mystery series. I began crocheting because of that series. That series deals with needlepoint.
Oh wow!
But I decided to try crocheting, and I have now crocheted a sweater. I have crocheted a bag.
I love that. That is so cool. That's one of my favorite things about reading cozies. I don't say that enough because really, I really like the character of the town, and I'm a very character-driven reader. So one of my favorite things is cozies is just, coming back to the same town and everybody's getting together for a festival, and you're catching up with Fariba, and you're catching up with blah, blah, blah at the bakery, and you're seeing what they're doing. And I like that more than the mystery part of it. But I don't say this enough. I think that, what was it you just said? You just said something that I was like, oh, that's one of my favorite things in cozies.
Oh, cooking? Baking?
No. I'm sorry.
Needlepoint? Crocheting?
No. I know what I was going to say. The fact that it teaches us something, the themes, you can learn something, like really interesting about that, like when you're reading a bee, or there's a coffee series. I've learned so much about coffee and beans from just this coffee series. And I love that cozies do that.
That's like my experience with Ferris when she talks about the Needlepoint series. It's like embroidery floss and like bobbin lace. And like, I'm like, what is this stuff? I'm like Googling and finding videos of people doing bobbin lace and like tatting. And I'm like, what is all of this stuff? And it's just so interesting.
It is.
But it only really works if the author is familiar with this industry. I mean, clearly Monica Lace Monica Ferris did needlepoint.
Right, I totally agree. And I just think it's fabulous to learn why we read, but I think it's funny because, a lot of people consider cozy mysteries fluff or non-literature. You could get into that argument, but I always do learn something in a cozy. It's just depending on the theme. So I always think that that's very interesting. I know there's some people, Dream, yay. Hello. Is it humorous? The Mrs. Claus series.
I wouldn't say it's over the top humor, but it is pretty funny. I mean, first of all, just the characters themselves. Like, it's very sweet. Like I said, it's like the Santa Claus movie, but like with a mystery. Yeah. There are funny moments. But I think that I don't know. I sometimes I think I don't like the really, really, really funny cozy mysteries. So like I tried. Who's the one that does all the books about birds? Donna Andrews.
Donna Andrews.
I read one book by her, and it just was too much for me. So I wouldn't say it's that funny. It's funny. There are funny moments, but it's like tempered by more serious elements. I really love the fact that Mrs. Claus, since she is not from that world, she has difficulties fitting in, and there's a lot of talk about how and it's not, they don't beat you over the head with it, but the North Pole is very patriarchal, and so she's a woman who runs a business in Oregon, but now she's in a world where the Santa Claus's sister can never be Santa because she's a woman. And there's also like discussion about like what happens if the reindeer are replaced by like drones and all kinds of things like that I think is really special because it's that fish out of water theme that I think is super interesting.
Thinking about, I don't know if you've tried it, but it's not exactly revolved around nature, although have you tried the Amelia Peabody series by Elizabeth Peters.
I have the first book, Crocodile on the Sandbank.
Yeah.
I started listening to it and I really enjoyed it, but I realized I wanted the physical book. And so I really look forward to reading it because it is a historical, or it has historical elements to it.
Yes.
And I really look forward to that because if anything that has a historical, not necessarily like, I think it's ancient historical or medieval historical. That's my favorite. So that definitely, or the archaeology theme in that series.
I think you, just because I think it's gonna be up your alley or close, you know.
Yes.
I think you'll enjoy it if you get into it. And then Ro asked about, and I agree, have you tried the Pacific Northwest series by Kate Dyer Seeley? Or
I have not, but I did purchase a book. I think it's later in the series, but I purchased it from a used bookstore around here that I go to a lot. I have a lot, so I check out a lot of books from the library, and then I definitely have bought more books than I've read. But that one does sound really good, and I do have a book from the series from it, so I will prioritize it.
I read the first one, and it was very good, and especially because I think, like she said, it revolves about like an outdoor magazine, and from what I understand, I think each book involves a different outdoor setting. So like in the first one, when she goes for the job, she's not an outdoor person at all. So she's, but she needs a job, and she is into journalism, you know, and stuff. And so she's like, yeah, I'm outdoorsy. And then like, so her first like article is like about rock climbing. And
I love that.
So now she's in a spot where like, you know, she's, but I think each one, like maybe the next one's then kayaking or.
Oh, that sounds fantastic. Yeah.
I'm not, but the first one had rock climbing in it. And I really, really enjoyed it. I actually need to get back to that series too. I'm glad she said that. And
thank you. I'm always looking for more books like that. So that sounds great.
I think that's a good one. Thanks, Ro. I also like the garden and farm cozies for the outdoor nature aspect.
Farm cozies. I forgot about that. Obviously, Amanda Flower is a master at farm cozies.
Farm cozies are some of my favorites. I really, really like farm cozies. I have you read the Cranberry Cove series?
No, by Peggy Cochran, right? I need to read that. I did read B.B. Haywood's Town and
Blueberry Jam.
It was a little long for me, but I did, I liked it. I would read more, but
I read the first one and didn't read any more because I was so excited that it was about a blueberry farm.
Yeah.
But it didn't really have any blueberry farm in it, I felt like. No. And so it just didn't hit well for me. And maybe I should read a second one. Maybe I did read the second one and I still felt that way. Because that series has my favorite covers of any cozies ever.
Gorgeous. Yeah.
Like on the whole, as a series, my absolute favorite covers.
Yeah.
But I really like farm cozies. And so I was like all excited because I liked the Cranberry Cove. I liked the Apple Cider Shop series by Julianne Lindsay, on the
Apple I read the first book in that series. And you just feel like you are there.
Yeah.
With so much emphasis on the farm and the making of the cider and like all of that.
Right.
And that was
the Dewberry Farm series is great. There's just I was like, oh, a blueberry farm. I've read different orchards. I've read, let's do the blue. And then there was, and maybe I need to give it another shot. But
no, you're right. There wasn't. That was also kind of a letdown.
Needlepoint is great. Currently reading book 5 now. Nice. There is a Natural Remedy series by Crystal Fielder I really want to get into. I feel like I've read something by her. It's not that. I mean, it's not that series, but something close to that name, maybe. I love the Monica Ferris. Yes.
And she wrote, what is the name she went under? She wrote a medieval series. It's the same author who wrote The Nun's was it The Nun's Tale or something like that? It's a series. Oh goodness. Let me look this up. Monica Ferris.
Oh.
She wrote the Dame Fervis series.
Oh.
Yes. And I have the first book from that.
Have you read it or you have it?
By Margaret Fraser. She was Margaret Fraser. So that's the same woman. So as Monica Ferris, she did the Needlepoint series. And then as Margaret Fraser, she did the medieval Dame for V series. Very different books. Dame for V's gives me a lot of high Ellis Peters vibes. I love the Brother Catfile series. That's the other series I didn't mention. Cozy, I don't know. You can decide. But I love the Brother Catfile series.
Who is that by?
Ellis Peters.
Okay. The medieval series that you were just talking about, the Monica Ferris one.
Yeah.
You said you had it. Have you read it? Because I love series. It's about a nun, right?
Yes, but I haven't read it.
Okay. I just wonder because I love series that involve any kind of religious figure. I don't know, like a
Brother
monk,
Catfile. Brother Catfile series by Ellis Peters is like he's a crusading monk who solves mysteries.
See, I like that. I like that. That's awesome. Dream said, "Oh, I love the first Donna Andrews book. It definitely felt chaotic, but in a good way for me. LOL." I really love that series too. So, it just goes back to everybody, has a different perspective of things. But I do agree that with both of you, that the first book is chaotic. So I always tell people, to be honest, I feel like the first book in that series is her weakest. And it does a disservice to the rest of the series because I think she's amazing the rest of the way. However, the humor doesn't change. I just feel like the first book was very chaotic and that kind of smooths out. If it's like overly humorous, that's not going to necessarily change as who she, kind of is as a writer. But the other part of it. But I agree, Dream. Orchard series by Sheila Connolly and Apple Farm, very detailed, and some of the mysteries focus of the area. Fantastic. And I read the first 3 in that one, and I need to get to more of those.
Oh, that sounds really good. Yes, anything that kind of really, like you talk about, like learning the craft. Yes, learning the craft, learning the history of the area. Something that makes me gives a strong sense of place. Like that's really important to me.
There's a Renaissance Farm Cozy Mystery series. Haven't tried it yet, though. Yes. It's by they're a husband and wife team, Joyce and Jim Levine. They actually have that series. They have several, but the other one that they have that I think is really interesting is they have a gourd carving Cozy Mystery series. Ooh. But I think it's only like 2 books. But like when I say gourd carving, it's not like just pumpkin, like they're carving, butternut squashes or, whatever. And I think they're like, but at a craft fair, like they carve it for it. So I think that would be interesting. But I haven't tried it.
Oh, interesting. Gourd carving.
Yeah. I just think that's cool. I like when things are different. I like that we're getting different themes, but it's so interesting because I feel like we'll every once in a while talk about the themes we don't see in cozies that we would like to, and I feel like you can find stuff for everything. But now that you said that about the exotic animals, that's interesting because I don't. However, I don't know, do you like fantasy paranormal typey stuff?
I never thought I would. I mean, I liked fantasy growing up, but I didn't think I would like a fantasy mystery. And then I read Animal Chase's Curse the Day, and I was like, this is fabulous. There's goblins and witches and everything. So I guess I like them.
Okay, well then there is a KU series, because one of the things that I've said for years that I want for a cozy mystery, I would love an amusement park cozy or a cozy that takes place at like a traveling carnival or circus. Ooh, I think that would be fabulous. Okay, so there's a KU series that's like a traveling circus. Ooh. But it involves very fantastical creatures, and not just animals, but also they're the keepers. So there's goblins and there's werewolves and it's a traveling circus KU series. I think it's
Blackwood Bay Witches. No. Yeah.
No. I'll look it up and get back to you because I have it on one of my videos and I was like, oh, I would love to know how fantastical.
Yeah, please. That sounds fun if anybody knows of it.
I think that's too much for me, so I haven't tried it, but I'm like, oh, I just think that's awesome, an idea. I've read and watched the Brother Catfile series and really enjoyed both. Okay.
So I wouldn't say it's a cozy.
So I wouldn't say as well.
full on. I mean, it's a mystery. I would say it's a mystery. There is, but it's just done so well. I mean, such a great research, the historical elements, and then Brother Catfile has a very mysterious past that's slowly uncovered as you read more of the books. So I would recommend.
So I guess it's a TV show too. Have you seen that?
I have seen a couple episodes and they're fabulous. Unfortunately, so it's on Amazon Prime and like the advertisements are like in there and it annoys me to no end because they're like 2-minute advertisements, but it's worth it. I mean, 100% worth it. It's very, very well done.
Okay. I was looking up who Derek Jacobi was really quick. Okay. I had to see who the actor was. I do know who that is. Okay. And so it's Amazon Prime. I'll have to think about, because like I said, I love anything like that. Like even on TV shows, I love Father Brown. I don't get to see him as much, but I enjoy like all of those, type of.
Father Brown is more cozy. Brother Catfile is just more mystery. Like it's not too much. It's not too much, but it's a little bit. Like there might be some pictures of dead bodies.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
Just a little bit more edge, but not like.
Gotcha. So we've kind of talked about it a little bit, but how did you first get into cozies? You said your first series, but how did you first come to find that? And I know we've talked a little bit about like you love when it teaches you things, but what are your other favorite things about cozies that bring you to them, back to them each time?
So my background is actually really interesting. So for people who don't know, I have a doctorate in French.
That's amazing.
So I love great literature. I used to have a YouTube channel that was all about, it was very educational about classics and analyzing literature, both English and French. But I also started, and I would just read classics. I mean, when I started out, I even had a classics blog that was all about that. So I was always reading the more challenging, heady things. Like I love Dickens, and I love Honoré de Balzac. Balzac is like the French version of Dickens in many ways.
Okay.
But then while I was doing my doctorate, especially when I was working on my dissertation, I decided to try some more escapist fiction. I remember I read something by Debbie Maycomber because I was like, well, that's going to be super escapist. And it was. I don't usually read that kind of thing. And then I decided to try a mystery because it had an anteater and it takes place in a zoo. And I listened to it on audio, and that's how I got into cozies. I never thought I would be reading that kind of literature, but it's a great palate cleanser. It's a lot of fun. It's super escapist, and I came to appreciate that side of literature as a result. So my journey into cozy is a bit atypical. I feel like people maybe start in romance and then they move to cozies. But I started with something very different.
Wow. Some PBS stations have the Codfish show. Okay. Makes sense. Just like Father Brown, some PBS have Father Brown. I'm interested in it for the religious elements too. Like I'd be an interesting mystery. I think it would be very interesting. I agree, Dream. Fariba, I was always so impressed by your other channel. I've been subscribed for years.
I've thought about going back to it many times. And, you see that I started a YouTube channel for cozies. And the thing is, I find myself not having the discipline to make videos. And I think that is something that maybe I'll work on, and maybe I'll go back to making videos, because I had no problem making videos and no problem editing. It's just like keeping up with it. I'm very impressed by booktubers who keep up and have a schedule and they follow it for years on end, like you. But yeah, you do have to schedule it. And I was just like, whenever I felt like it, and you have to be more committed. So
well, and I think that some people are more geared toward one or the other. Like I originally started with a blog, and I realized right away I didn't like I only do this for fun. So I realized right away, it wasn't that I was dying to make videos. It was that I'm a much better talker than I am writer, or I enjoy it a lot more, at least. And
I
so
like talking too. I mean, I don't know. I just think about, I think, okay, here's a big challenge. You read like 20 something books a month, and I read maybe 4 on a good month. So I think that's the challenge too. It's like, how am I going to make a wrap up where I'm like, I read 4 books, you know?
but maybe what's unique about your channel is that you focus more in depth on the 4 books that you read, because maybe you do in-depth reviews as opposed to a wrap up, you know, I mean, and stuff like that.
Yes. And I have seen people from time to time mention my other YouTube channel that I had. I don't know if I would return to that channel ever, but I like the idea of having, but yeah, the other thing is, while I read a lot of cozy mysteries, I read a lot of other things. Like I just finished a very political, historical novel about Cicero. I mean, it was fantastic. It's called Imperium. But I want to be able to talk about that too. And I'm like, I just read everything. I read everything except erotica and except like any hardcore horror. But anything else I would read.
Yeah, and I think that there's a place for that. But like I was just saying, like for some people, like they're just more into the blog part of it. And whereas the only reason I do videos over the blog is because I prefer talking than writing. There's people that prefer that other element and don't have any desire to do this one. But I mean, I think that there's space for everything. And I think that there's a lot of people who want to just find cozy mysteries on blogs because they don't go on YouTube. And I think there's a lot of people that the younger generation, maybe they only do YouTube and would never go on a blog. So I think that there's very much like reasons to do both, and whatever it works for you best is, you know, the avenue that to pursue. But I think that is awesome. I started with traditional mystery and gritty series and decided I like fluff better. Gotcha.
Especially after a long day, you want something that's not super taxing.
Yeah. Well, and I actually don't know how I fell into cozy mysteries. I know that I wanted something that was very much an escape, because I have a sometimes very like lose your faith in humanity type of job at points, you know, and so I didn't want any more dissension in anything I read anymore, you know, but I also think that I might have just been walking through a bookstore and I was like, I like that cover, and that could have just, you know what I mean? And then it just worked for me, you know. I honestly don't remember. I know my first series ever was Joanne Fluke, but I don't know if I was searching for something more fluffy or if it just came out and the puzzle clicked. I don't know which one, but I know I've stuck with them because I like having a mystery to figure out, but I don't want the blood. I don't want the gore. I don't want the heavy topics. You know, I don't want the cussing. I don't want that. And not to say that I have anything against those things. Like if I'm reading something else and there's a cuss word in it, I'm not like, oh my, you know, but I don't want it in something over here because I'm looking for that book for those reasons, or, you know, whatever the case is.
My husband loves walking through a bookstore with me because the cozy mystery covers are so, you can tell a cozy mystery cover, right?
Absolutely.
First, the title is super punny, and there's always, it's very feminine, like, right? I mean, it's very feminine, that they know their audience as mostly women. And there's like always a stuff like some kind of a domesticated animal on the cover, and it's just pinks and like, you know, and he knows he's like, oh, that's a cozy mystery, I could tell.
And I definitely read by covers. Like they say, don't, you know, it's more in other places that additive, don't judge a book by a cover, I feel like is for other things in life, you know, like people don't judge, you know, more than because books I totally judge by the cover if that's the case. And I love cozy mystery covers, and I think that was a lot of what dragged me in. And I prefer all the things that you mentioned because we're getting some other kind of covers in the last few years, and I find I'm not as attracted to those. I very much like the BB Haywood, lots of color, lots of picturesque stuff.
Fewer, like, okay, this is a bit controversial. I like KU books. There's some great KU books.
Yeah.
But the paranormal contemporary covers are terrible. I think they're horrible. I don't know. It's like a person with like a witch's hat. And like, I don't know. I mean, obviously it helps sell books because that's what all the covers look like. So you kind of have to make sure your covers look like that. But I'm like, there was like some Renaissance fair book. It wasn't the one that you mentioned. It was a different series. And those covers are hideous. Like, and I'm like, I'm sure it sells books, but I don't know where the trend came from. I don't understand.
You know, and this isn't, since you didn't say anything in particular,
No,
you know, I'll
I'm
say
not
this, just, I
naming
don't,
or anything.
because I don't want it to be about a specific series, but
No.
I feel like sometimes those kind of covers, to me, it's not just with paranormal, it's sometimes with all KU books, and I feel like it's more of a money thing than a like type of cover thing. Like they're, you know, doing all of it themselves. So their cover, because you can, I just feel like, unfortunately, sometimes the covers, I hate to use this word, and since I'm not saying anything in particular,
Right.
they kind of look like they're on the cheap side to other covers. And I think that might be because, you know, if you're paying for it all yourself and you're just trying to get off the ground, maybe that's what you can do. But I think it's noticeable. And I think that paranormals are really hot right now. So maybe that's why we're seeing it so much. You know,
maybe, you know, people are like, I need to just crank the books out, and readers don't care what the covers look like, which, I mean, great. That means you can save money on that. You know, you don't have to spend as much money. I will say self-published authors I have the utmost respect for. I don't know if I would be able to do it, but I just love learning about what they do.
I agree. And the only thing that for me, because, you know, I want everybody to have their shot, whether they have a great cover or not, is please don't give me a cover if you have a person that doesn't have a face. I think that's creepy. I don't care for it. It creeps me out a little bit. And especially if the reasoning is they're like, oh, well, we want you to be able to picture it yourself, what the person looks like. Okay, but you gave me the body type, you gave me the hair color, you gave me everything but eyes and nose and ears. Just give it to me at that point. Like,
unless it's an Amish, and then okay, then there's no face. But like,
but that's for different reasons. You know, but like, I just think it's, I don't know. I just think it's odd. I just don't.
That is odd. Yeah.
You know. Hey, Regina. It's good to see you. Yes, I love that about covers. Good. Yeah. I have a very certain type of cover I like in any genre. I feel you. I think I do too. And I'm kind of stuck in that way. And I'll still read something, but I'm more drawn to a book that way. Truth of me, one of my favorite series is reissue the book with new covers, and I would not have picked them up if it was the cover when I read them then. Yeah. And I think they go back and do that for that reason. I think that's a great point.
I know that vector covers right now are really popular. And
what
I don't know, vector covers, they're like very cartoonish.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know how I feel about them. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. But they are really popular right now. So
I think they work in certain situations, but like they're doing it a lot in romance too.
Yes.
And I think it can work in romances, but I think it can work in only in certain times. Like if it's a romance that falls on the sweet side of things or doesn't have a lot of dark elements, themes, or triggering things. But when you give me a cartoon cover that looks like they're on a sailboat, going to be on this vacation, and then it's about, I don't know, something really heavy, like unaliving yourself. It's like, this is so just jarring. Like, this is not what I thought I was going into. And maybe I would pick up either of those books on any given day. I might pick up a book that did involve something like that, but I would know what I was going into. And I might pick up a book involving the cover. But I don't want them smashed together.
Yeah, same. Like if you had a cozy mystery cover with a book that's clearly a grittier, darker mystery, it would be so off-putting because I would feel like I'm kind of being lied to. You know what you're doing. You know who you're marketing to. So
it does feel like false advertising.
Yeah. It's like, no, this isn't a sweet book. This is actually pretty rough. Like, put some dark colors on the cover. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. I read a book that had the sweetest cover, and it was like a small town romance, and it had a really sweet cover with beautiful mountains and this guy and girl and standing kind of like, looking at each other. And then like there was like an intense serial killer in this book. And I'm like, romance. And I was like, what am I doing here? Like what? Like, this is not what I signed up for. I feel like I was very misled. And because I would never, because I'm a scaredy cat. I would, yeah.
I don't want a person on my cover. I agree 100% with that. I don't want people on my cover. Personally.
I don't want a person on my cover.
It's genre too, right? With romance, it's like if it's like half naked man, we know what we're getting into ourselves into. If they're more fully clothed, we know what we're getting ourselves into.
Yeah. I don't like covers that use photos. Yeah.
That is, I think, what we see a lot in KU is the photos.
Yes.
Especially with like paranormal. It's like photos with like a witch in the background or something.
Yes. Oh, and I don't like when it's talking about cartoon covers and being misleading, when it's a really cutesy cover and then it's a very steamy book, because I feel like maybe that's a perception of mine that I need to work on. But in my mind, I guess I'm expecting something more sweet because it's cartoonish. And then I'm getting, and I'll read Amish romances that only have handheld to pretty steamy, as long as it has a plot. And anywhere in between. But I don't want to pick up a cartoonish thinking I'm getting something really sweet, and then like in the first page they're doing something crazy, and I feel like that can be very misleading and very like Yeah,
that's why I just read the reviews. I'm always like, when I go to anywhere, I'm like checking Goodreads, like what are people saying? What are the negative reviews about? Because usually that's when the people start telling you what the content is.
I should do that more, but I feel like I don't even hardly read synopsis anymore. I used to. And so that's like, if I would have read the synopsis on the book about the serial killer, I probably wouldn't have read it. So that is on me. But the thing is that synopsis, I feel like give away half the books now.
Oh, they do. But I don't read the synopsis. I read the reviews. Like I read real quick, like, yeah, because I agree with you. I mean, they tell you everything now.
Yeah. And I don't like that. I'm like, well, I can just mark it on. No, I'm just kidding. Also the new trend of cozy type book with a faceless person.
Yeah.
Creepy.
Yeah, it is creepy.
And that's what I mean. That's exactly what I'm talking about, Ro. Yes. I love to support indie and self-published. Absolutely. Yes, City Bear Attack. There's an instant no because you freaked me out. Exactly. I don't want the no. Yeah, I want an animal.
Yes,
nature, cozy scene, etc.
Yeah, give me it all. I want to know that I'm in for a good time.
I agree. Yes, I don't expect a steamy. Yeah, when it looks super sweet. I agree. LOL. I definitely agree. The cover should reflect the content of the book. Right? I don't want to be totally shocked and like, wonder where I got here. KU photos, but with like animated pumpkins and pies.
That is KU. Yep, that's what we see.
Yeah.
And again, I think it's because they are less expensive. Tiffany, I think you're right there, because photos, pre-prepared covers or whatever are less expensive than like actually hiring a photographer and everything. So
yeah. And yeah, I think that there's so much to self-publishing and all that. I think it is intentional because the publishers figure they will suck us in with the cover. But if I feel the cover is misleading now, you are on my naughty list. I'm not reading more. I agree. I think you are exactly right. I think that publishers know exactly what we think we'll be getting. And they're like, it'll be fine once they get into it, as long as they enjoy it. But even if I really enjoy it, I'm still going to probably mark you down a cup of coffee if I feel like it was misleading with an intention of misleading. Like even if I enjoyed it, I'm like, So who would you say, before we kind of wrap up, and I'll ask you before we wrap up where people can find you, and I know that you can say your blog spot again and tell us about your YouTube channel, but first I have to know One, the question I always ask authors about who would you want to solve your crime, knock on wood. Let's just say we hope, take a deep breath and that stuff. And what main character of a cozy would you say you are most like?
Okay, so solving crimes, definitely Hercule Poirot from the Agatha Christie series. I've never read a Miss Marple, and I know that she's more cozy, but I love Hercule Poirot, and I think that he's really good. He'll get to the bottom of everything, so I would want him solving my murder. And let's see. Which character am I the most like? Maybe Myrtle Hardcastle? Maybe. I don't know if I'm as gutsy as she is, but I am a total and utter nerd. And so in that sense, I relate very much to her.
Do you think you'd make a good sleuth?
Yes. I mean, I do research. Yes. I do think I would make a good sleuth.
Well, I can do research too, but the problem is if there's a murder, I'm going to be underneath the table and let the professionals handle it. I'm like Scooby-Doo. Like, I'm out. Like,
I've always wondered what it's like to be a detective.
Oh, okay. So yeah.
I don't know if I would want to do the interrogations. I would want to help on the backside of things.
Gotcha.
I want the data, and then I can do my own investigation. But I think I would be pretty good if I was part of a team.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. I don't think I always thought I was detail oriented, and but like I never figure out who kills the person in the books, like ever. And I mean, like sometimes there's like bright, like neon signs afterwards, and I was like, I'm like looking over here or something. I'm not really sure. Again, I personally think for me, it's not that I'm not detail oriented. So when I'm reading, I'm such a character driven reader that I'm really focused more on the town and what's going on and visiting the characters and doing that than the mystery, which is secondary to me. So sometimes I feel like it's that more than, not paying, attention or detail oriented. But yeah, I think it would be cool to, maybe investigate without the danger. If there's no danger involved.
Yes, I would agree. I don't want to. That's why I say on the backside of things. Like I wouldn't want to be the one doing the interrogations, but I would want to be the one who follows through with what is said and like looking through databases and all of that. I would want to be part of the team. I don't want to be the lead investigator. No.
Yeah. I need Goldie Schultz to solve my crime. She doesn't stop until it's solved and even puts herself in danger, all while drinking a ton of espresso and cooking for a catering event.
Schultz.
She writes the Goldie Bear series. Or I'm sorry, that the character is the Goldie Bear series. Goldie Schultz, she gets married during the series. It's by Diane Mott Davidson. It is an older cozy, so it started in the early 90s.
Yeah, 1990.
What's that?
It says 1990 was the first book.
It's been finished, but so I always bring that up because it is more of a gritty cozy than like really cutesy cozy because it was an earlier on one. But it is very good. And Ro, I saw in your last video that I saw you had made it through 14. You have to read 15 for me. Please, 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 because that is where I can't wait to hear what you think of 15. I've been waiting for you to get to 15 forever.
Maybe I'll start that. I mean, I like something that's just a slightly bit gritty.
Yeah, then I
will read mysteries across the board. The only thing I will not read about is violence towards children. And like animals, like that's, I would, I like cozy mysteries, but I will read something greater as well.
So yeah, I think Goldie Bear would be a good one for you. I had one more question that popped up in my head and now I can't think of it. So while I ask you, tell tell everybody your blog again and anywhere else they can find you. I will think of what I was going to ask you.
So my blog is coziemysteryreads.wordpress.com. That is where I talk the most about books, but I also have an Instagram account, Fariba Reads. My YouTube channel, I wouldn't subscribe to my own channel because I haven't been keeping up with it for a long time. But my blog and my Instagram are active, and I would recommend, that way over my YouTube channel.
Gotcha. Oh, I know we talked about themes, but where do you have favorite locations besides like farm, but like actual locations that are your favorites to read, like in terms of places or that sort of thing?
I definitely actually prefer United States, just because, and especially parts of the country I've actually been to, because that familiarity makes it feel that much cozier. I mean, certainly books set in the Midwest, but also now the American Southwest. Those are wonderful because I have been there. But U.S., I would say generally U.S. Not that I don't want to read cozy set in other parts of the world. I do, and I do read them. But I think just that it's my own country feels that much cozier.
It might be a little too humorous for you, but since you're in Arizona, have you tried the Sophie Kimball series?
Sophie Kimball.
It's by J.C. Eaton. They're a husband and wife team.
So Booked for Murder. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Have you tried those?
I have not.
They might be a little too like on the humorous side for you, but they're set in Arizona, so they're really fun.
Okay. Scottsdale, right? No.
I think so. Set wherever Sun City is.
Sun City. Okay.
I'm not really sure what part, but
I'll try it.
Yeah, they're a hoot. So, and that's how I describe them. So, like, if you don't like the more humorous, that might not be up your alley. But I will. But I doubt that series can shock me at this point. Please read it, and then we'll talk because I thought so too. But okay. Mystery subject, gritty, but lots of cozy details and cooking. That's the Goldie Bear.
Cool. Fantastic.
Hey, Sonia. She says,
Hi,
Sonia. Nice to meet you. Fariba. Yes. So good to see you. I love the new profile pic. It is awesome. Cupcake Bake. Yes. The Jen McKinley.
Oh, Jen McKinley. Yes. I have read, not her cupcake baking series. I read one book in her Hat Shop series.
Okay.
And I liked it. She was a really good writer.
The Cupcake Bakery takes place in Arizona. I think it's Phoenix.
Phoenix. Okay.
I'm not sure if it's Phoenix, but it is in Arizona for sure.
Cool. I've heard good things about that.
Because there's not very many that take place in Arizona. There's a few more, but like, that's one that we don't see as much. So I am so thankful for you to come on. It's so fun to see other people's way of contributing to the cozy mystery community. I like blogs because I can do it just from my phone easier than watching a video. So I appreciate people who still do blogs, and I catch up a lot that way because then I don't have to always put on a video or whatever.
Well, thank you, Tiffany, for inviting me. I'm glad that you're doing this series where you're talking to other people online who talk about books. It's really cool to chat with another cozy mystery reader because I don't know any in life. Like in my everyday life, I don't know any cozy mystery readers. So
yeah, and I know you're on the Discord with us. If you ever want to come on a read sprint with us or anything like that, please just message me because everybody is always welcome to. If you would ever like to do that or anything, like on Sundays.
Sounds good. I might take you up on it at some point.
Yeah, absolutely. So like I said, just message me, and yeah, absolutely. Real quick, nice to meet you. Oh, I love the bakery series. I'm on book 4. Yeah, I actually just read the latest one, and I think that's a series that gets better and better over time, and I can't say enough about it. I like the bakery series a lot too. Okay, it keeps Tiffany from telling random people at the store about cozies. It really does. That is seriously why I started my channel, is because I learned that it's not like socially appropriate, or it's socially awkward to like be at the grocery store, gas station, anywhere you might, be in public with random people. And they're like, hey, how are you? Just because they're trying to be friendly. And you're like, hey, have you read the Cupcake Bakery series? And they're like pulling their children away from you. They're like, just it's not appropriate. It's not. So I just needed, so I'm so glad to find other people that, want to, because I have friends that read, but they don't read what I'm reading. So like, we're still not wanting to talk about the same things.
Yeah.
Because cozy mysteries are very much a niche.
It is. It's a niche. It's a niche though that is growing in interest, and
it is.
We are rivaling romance readers in, our passion for the genre, and cozy mystery readers are voracious. Like, I am not. Like, I just, read a few books here and there, but there are cozy mystery readers who at this time of the year have read over 200 books, and I'm like,
yeah.
How? Well, audiobooks probably help, but still.
Audiobooks help. And, I don't have children. I'm done with school. There's a lot of things that contribute to me having a lot of time reading that maybe other people wouldn't.
Yeah.
So yes. Well, this was so much fun. I'm so thankful that you got to come on. And like I said, if ever, hit me up in the Discord, just send me a private message. I always do Sundays at 5 Eastern.
Okay. Yeah.
Reading sprints. And yeah, if you ever want to hop on with us, we chat about cozies, do some reading in between, and all of that stuff. So
sounds good. Thank you so much, Tiffany.
All right, everyone. And thanks everybody for coming. See y'all later.
Bye.
Bye.